I'm in Bloxsom. I'm Myriad IT's National Account Manager. Presentation this afternoon is about estimating costs and developing a business case around your JD with upgrade. So, just in terms of it, just want to look at, dealing with, the costs of an upgrade. So, looking at the breakdown of the requirements of doing an upgrade, so the purposes, what are the impacts, what are the stages, and what are the factors that can impact putting together a costing of an upgrade. But for this perspective in the presentation, we're going to focus more on a technology upgrade. Okay, and push all the information that way. So in dealing with an upgrade, there's 5 standard obstacles that you normally encounter. So they are data, code, testing, training, and then you go live. The way that these can affect cost are ways around how much data I have. Lots of data can mean more time configuring it to get it inside your go live window. Code, that changes your retrofit cost. So the number of modifications that you've got. Testing, training, most people upgrading to the new release of 9.1 have got to deal with the new UI. So there's majority of times when you previously upgraded from releases, 8.9, 8.10, 8.11, 8.12, the user interface didn't change, navigating around, but everyone's seeing the new UI is there, so you've got an additional cost that you normally don't have from a training perspective. One of the other major costs is also around people. Okay. In some ways you're going to need some consultants to do the work. That's going to be a cost. During a project you may have some key internal people. They may move on. So then you have to bring in additional resources, so that's an additional cost that you may have to think about. And then you've also got, by bringing people into the project, you've got to keep the business going. So there's a backfill cost. Other part is also hardware. So hardware, you can set it up so it's a fixed cost, but you can also make it so that it's flexible. So things that you think about here are when you're talking about an upgrade, you've got additional environments, additional hardware requirements just for having SIT integration, so additional environments. So then you can think of cloud options. So you're only going to need these environments for X number of time, so a couple of months. So why go and buy when you can rent? They give you the options there, so you've got them for the period of the upgrade, then I can give them back. So I'm not having to worry about those sort of costs there. But then you also, it can be a fixed cost because you know that for 3 months it's going to cost you this much to rent. So then you can put that into your upgrade costing. And the last one is around software. So when you're thinking of upgrade, you may want to look at hosts to do your performance testing, load testing, functional testing. With your training on, you may go look at UPK, any other products that you may want to do and use to make the life of the upgrade easier. That's an additional cost that you need to think about there. So, taking all of that, and then thinking around the standard 100-day JD upgrade methodology, we identified 8 stages that you go through. So they're evaluate, plan, configure, retrofit, testing, training, go live and support. So these stages of the JD upgrade, they can either be fixed or they can be dynamic. So out of those, which ones are normally fixed and which ones are normally dynamic? So the fixed ones that we see are support, go live, configure, plan and evaluate. And then the 3 are dynamic, your testing, your training and your retrofit. So just to go through those in more detail. So fixed costs, straightforward, and also, your dynamic costs can be complex, but everything can be simplified by using tools that are available. There was presentations yesterday that talked about the tools that are now available through Oracle for your upgrades. By using those, you can also significantly reduce the cost of your upgrade. So in terms of what can be fixed, and what we've identified as can be fixed, so your evaluation at the start. So determining what type of upgrade you're going to do. Technology only upgrade. I'm going to do some business process change. I'm going to do a hybrid. I'm going to do a little bit, or you're just going to, so what you can do is you can put, you can do an evaluation process at the start. Roughly, you're looking at maybe 10 to 15K of setting that up. This allows you to put together a solid scope so you know exactly what's going to be involved in terms of counteracting those 5 major obstacles that we identified earlier. So you'll know how much retrofitting I've got to do, what training I'm going to do, what testing I'm going to do. So once you've got those, then you can start building your business case to then roll into the upgrade. Planning. So when you start talking about planning, we're talking about what we're going to do in terms of changes. We're going to upgrade JDWs, but what else do we need to do? Am I upgrading my hardware? Am I going to upgrade my OSs? Do I need to bring any additional infrastructure in place? Any of those other changes that are going to be linked in with the upgrade, what impact are they going to have there? So this is where you're normally looking at, based on prior experience, probably about 5 days of like a solution architect will come in and go through all these bits and pieces, so then you can put that together in your plan. Configuration. So this is your retrofit. It's also your first cut across of your upgrade. So when you're talking about this, you can go 2 ways. Most people cut across the development environment, upgrade that. You're looking at 10 to 15 days of work to get that done. But then this is also where you can consider a proof of concept. You either go a step further, consider a cloud proof of concept. So this is where you can get your proof of concept up and running, new infrastructure, cloud, people can go and they can try it, they can do it with their own data, their own setup, whatever infrastructure they're on, so that they can see all their workings of their current business setup. They can go, okay, this is what I want to do with the upgrade, this is what I want to look at, this is what's going to work, what have I got to change? And then they can use that as a starting point, they can continue the process, or based on sometimes with business, it may take months to then get to the next stage. So then they can park that, they can decommission it if it's a cloud, they don't have to have it there anymore. It's not an overhead, it's there on the business. So go live. Pretty much, this must happen in a weekend for the majority of people, okay? Depending on their businesses, they've got a small window, they may have to, a 24/7 operation. But the majority of go lives you can get done, within a 72-hour frame. This is very important because when you think about the other obstacles, particularly around your data, it's how much and how long it's going to take me to convert my data with the upgrade. So that then adds additional costs on, because some sites we're talking multiple terabytes of data. It's not with the current processes, it's not going to get done inside a small weekend window. So then you've got to go through multiple iterations of being able to get that refined and get that process so it can fit in your go live window. And the last one's support. So in terms of support, generally looking at, hypercare afterwards, a couple of weeks, dedicated support on site, 1 to 2 consultants, because then you've got, that you're going to get the response straight away and get things fixed. If there's anything that comes up, I know that I'm going to have the required resources there, that they're going to be straight on top of any issues. Okay, so outside of that, we identified 3 dynamic stages to the process. So one was our retrofit. So this is looking at all your customised code and the retrofitting to fit into the upgrade. This can be fixed. It doesn't have to be a dynamic cost, but initially, it is because it's such an unknown. But at Myriad IT, we've got a tried and tested solution that whether it's 1 week of retrofit or 6 months of retrofitting, we can come and make it from a dynamic cost to a fixed cost. Testing, we spoke about it briefly earlier. Testing is crucial. UAT, how many SIT phases am I going to do? How many UAT phases am I going to do? Performance testing, any regression testing, or integration testing. There's so many different types of testing, but that are critical and it's also so variable, whereas one organisation will just happy with one phase of each. Another organisation may want to have 5 sets of SIP. You know, it's a complete variable based on each of the organisation's different requirements. You know, this is where you can start using tools to help you to get through these, and it also gives you the ability, because in some organisations, you know, you need to have the audited results of the testing financially. You know, what happened here? How's the process the same? What's changed? You know, so they know where the dollar is, things like that. And then training. So training, you know, we talk about it now, common foundation, and then it's also looking about anything new that's picked up with the upgrade, any new processes, anything that's changed in the process, because we had a modified process and modified objects when we first put the system in. That's all fixed in the new release of JD Edwards, so we've had to change our process to fit those. So anything on those sides, you know, training is a key, but it impacts everyone now, so it's a larger cost than it was, but it's something that can be controlled. And this is where you can look at different things where you can use, you know, UPK as a service, for example. You know, you don't have to go and buy a product. You can rent it for the lifetime of the project. Get the information, get it trained, you've got it stored aside, but you're not paying that overhead of a licensing cost going forward. So, taking all those 8 stages, you know, bringing them all together, you know, you can then look at everything that's fixed. You can look at the dynamic aspects as well, and you can take those. And in some places, you can actually fine-tune, do additional, you know, scoping at the start, and you can actually make them all fixed if you like. You know, that's an option that is available. You know, the only thing there is, you know, just paying a little bit of extra cost, you know, an extra 10 days maybe at the beginning will help you be able to put things more at a fixed level, if that's how the business wants to do it. So, and as there was a presentation that Shannon did yesterday morning, you know, there's numerous tools available now that can help simplify and streamline and simplify and upgrade. Okay, so let's talk about the cost of an upgrade. So then one of those parts of that was, one of the stages we talked about was the planning stage. And inside the planning stage is about putting together a business case. So what we've found is a lot of people, you know, the information that they need and the time that's involved in putting a business case together now for an upgrade is a lot more consuming. And they need more information, particularly because the business want to know, what are my benefits and what return am I going to get out of doing an upgrade? You know, previously a lot of projects were driven by IT, compliance. You know, we've got to get my upgrade, I'm going to get my hardware upgraded, so we'll do it. We'll put a JD Edwards upgrade in there as well. IT, where the costs, all done. Okay, it's not, most cases now, it's not the case. You've got to go to business because they're the one that control the purse strings. So, in terms of the second part of the presentation, I just want to think about four questions as we go through. So, why do I care if we upgrade our JD Edwards implementation? Who am I selling the JD Edwards upgrade to? Because that's one thing that's also changed now. It's not, you know, automatically I'm going to put this piece of paper in front of someone and they're going to sign up on it. I've actually got to try and sell it to them and say, what are they going to get out of it? You know, what is the benefit for them doing this piece of work? What is the benefit for them spending this money? So how will this help them? And what do I upgrade? Okay, back to the first question, you know, technology, functional upgrade, all the other bits and pieces that look behind the scenes. Do I start moving things to the cloud? Do I upgrade my hardware? Do I change my hardware? So, thinking of those and thinking about a business case, we've identified, you know, 6 key points to a JD Edwards business case. They're not the only ones, but these are the ones we see as the key. So, an overview, the business case, the scope, business benefits analysis. So that's thinking about risk, constraints, assumptions, the approach that I'm going to take, what type of upgrade I'm going to do, and then estimates, time and cost, what's involved. So, talking about the overview. So, the overview is just going through the concept upgrade. What is it going to be? Is it just a technology upgrade, a little bit of information about that, or am I looking at a multi-phase project? Additional phases in there. So first phase is my technology upgrade. Second phase is I'm going to look at some business process improvement. Third phase is I'm going to implement a new model, or I'm rolling out into an additional division. So it's getting a holistic overview of what's actually going to happen in the upgrade. The second one is the scope. So going into more detail of the overview of what's actually going to happen. So, you know, you're talking about overall scope, geographical scope. Am I just doing it for this region? Am I doing it for all of Australia? Is this then something that's going to be moved out to a global rollout? Organisational scope. So what's changing with the business? Are we having to do any structural changes within the organisation to fit the change, to fit the process change because of the upgrade? Is there also any functional scope? So what am I changing? Am I just doing a technology upgrade? If not, I'm looking at a functional upgrade. What am I going to change there? Processes linking with that as well. So you've got process scope change, technical scope change. So we go to our technology upgrade. What am I looking at? Am I looking at changing any of my hardware? Am I going to move this into a data center? Is it going to be a hosted solution going forward? Am I going to the cloud? Amazon's around, Azure, other people have their hosting solutions. Myriad IT have a hosting solution. Do I want them managing it? You know, what is there? What's with the technology? And so there's that scope. And then the last one, which is the other way, is what is my exclusions? Identifying at the start, where am I not touching? What is not changing? Okay. See this as probably the most critical part, because that's where you're locking down your scope. If you don't lock down your scope or you go outside your scope, that's where your time and costs go up. Third one, business benefit. Okay, I'm selling this to someone. I'm selling this to a CFO. I'm selling this to multiple CFOs. I'm selling this to, you know, a couple of business owners for a couple of divisions. So what are they going to get? What are they going to benefit out of me putting in a JD upgrade? What is their return for doing this? Got to have something to sell to them. You know, automatically, you know, a lot of the upgrades previously was all about compliance. I've got to keep my compliance levels up. I've got to keep my support. A12's out of support. I've got to get to a new level, so I'm compliant from an auditing perspective. Then you've got other things where you're looking at, okay, what's sort of the low-hanging fruits I can attack? E1 pages, new UI, one-view reporting, you know, things like that as well. I want to be able to put some new hardware in, so at the same time I'll just do an upgrade so I can fit up with the new, so I can utilise some new hardware, sorry. Then on the other side is, what are their pain points at the moment? What is the business having issues with? Am I losing, talking to people, I'm losing purchase orders, or I've got accounts payable people putting in suppliers, they're going in and updating their information, the next day that change is not there. My report to my month end takes me 2 days to get through. Why can't I get this done in a couple of hours? I hear someone else can do it in a couple of hours. Okay, my validation, you know, you've got clients out there that are looking at, you know, it takes them 3 weeks to get through their validation. You know, why can't I automate some of my processes? Okay, why can't that all be done? Why am I waiting for batch processing overnight? So it's whatever's available, finding what their pain points are and going, yes, an upgrade, they can take away those pain points because of this. So you are going to have to spend some money to take away your pain, but in the long run, you're going to make that money back. Analysis. So I use the word analysis, but it's cut down into 3 areas, which is what are the assumptions we've got with the upgrade? Okay, what are the decisions that are getting made? What's going to be there to do? What are the risks? Have I got risks for people? Have I got risks for timing? You know, if I start the project now, I've got Christmas coming up. Are we going to shut down for 5 weeks, 6 weeks, shut the project down, or are we going to push through? Who's having holidays? What's the risk also if I lose this person? I've got a contractor on, that's my key AR person. What happens if they move on? What's the impact there? And then also constraints. Our company's splitting. So I've got to be off their system in 12 months. I've got no choice. Or we want to go and buy another organisation. So I've got to have all this done before the new organisation comes on board. So having them clearly identified and agreed to at the start is another critical part of putting the business case together. So the approach, it's the common thing, but with the scope it needs to be identified at the start. Am I doing a technology upgrade? Am I doing functional upgrade? Am I doing a hybrid? Make the decision of what I'm doing. Then on the back of that, you can put together your project schedule. What do I need for my resourcing? What's my governance structure? A lot of projects fail because of the governance structure. They don't have any owners for the project. They don't have a steering committee. They don't have good project management. And then it's all. And then on the back of that, because you have no governance, that's when your scope goes out. What are the people's roles and responsibility inside that project? So clearly identifying all that information is just another part to go together, putting the business case in place. And then the last one is obviously the estimate. How long is it going to take? How much is it going to cost me? Identifying those two things, plus contingency. People go, okay, my upgrade's going to cost me $250,000. I've got it fixed. Sorted. Something, there's always a chance that something may come up. So always give yourself a little bit of room, have that contingency in there. So in terms of the business case, the two things, to take anything out of putting a business case together is what is the benefit to the business and what's the return on their investment. Okay. And the other part is the way that we always think about it first is go down the path of least resistance, tech upgrade. Get that done, then look at subsequent phases. A lot of people now, it's easy to put through a smaller capex, smaller time, get the first part done, then look at the next part. What processes do I want to improve now that I've got the new system? Okay, now that I've got E1 pages, put my processes up. What works, what doesn't work, what can I change? Nowadays, we've got the analytics tool that Shannon presented earlier on. You can see what people are doing, what screens are hitting, what's taking so long, what changes do I need to make based on that information. So, just stepping back through it, 8 stages of JD upgrade we identified. So, starting with evaluate, plan, configure, retrofit, testing, train, go live, and then obviously a hypercare support at the end. What's that there? In terms of information on these, there's all the documentation out there about the 100-day upgrades, the methodology. So, upgradejd.com website, you can go on there and get some additional information. Go on to the Myriad IT website, you can download white papers and get that information from there. So they're the 8 stages that we've identified from there. And then the 6 key points that we've identified for putting together a business case: overview, scope, business benefits, analysis, approach, and the estimate. So taking into fact those 6 as a basis, that's not everything for a business case, because like every organisation has different rules, different project methodology. But having those 6 as a basis and then taking into effect, that gives you a evaluate stage of the upgrade, then look at the other stages. You can then make it a fixed upgrade and get the things that you need to be done. So that's pretty much it. So any questions? No? Cool.
I know you have like big ranges at each end, but the 100-day upgrade, is it usually less than 100 days, more than 100 days? Or?
It all depends, Darren. Like we've had people do it in 60 odd. We've had people take the methodology, though, and go, yep, that's the framework we're going to use. But we know that Christmas is coming up. We're going to shut down for 6 weeks. Because of that, we're just going to go, get to this phase, please stop, park for 6 weeks and we'll start back up. So it may turn to 120 days. But that's a decision they made. but there's been multiple upgrades that have been done in under the 100 days. But when you go to those 5 roadblocks, the 5 obstacles, that's what it's there. You know, that's where it can blow out. But also when it comes down to how much code, you know, what's the retrofitting? One way, you know, around a lot of things, you know, 1 developer, 3 developers, get it 3 times, done 3 times as quick. Okay. Start thinking about getting rid of your data earlier. What can I archive off to make my go out window quicker? You know, things like that. But there's no reason why, you know, once you run up the first disk, so the 100-day also doesn't include before, you know, getting it signed off, you know, but it's running up the first set of disks, starting kicking off that upgrade, it's ready to go along. Yeah, that sort of.
The upgrade the answer is that it varies.
But you can, you know, if you're controlling your scope,
it's a number of logs and the amount of data and factors.
Yes.
The upgrade JD website that Andrew talked about earlier has a list of clients and how long it's taken them to do that. And so you can look through that and see some of the different ski out there.
Yep.
Nothing else? Okay. So, yeah.
Andrew, could
Yes,
it
sorry.
be related that the bigger the jump with your upgrade, i.e. from, let's say, 18 to 9192, if you got to that, makes your upgrade a lot longer and more complex than a 9192?
Yes. Well, you go straight away about, I think if the bigger jumps, I go straight away with testing and training. You know, that's one thing I've talked about people all the time now is because some people are still used to it and they go like, some people haven't even seen the new 91 and what's the look and feel, what's the impact of actually changing that UI. You know, every person has to go through training and so there's that time there. So if you're going from 9 to 91, they've already seen it, they're already using it, not really a major impact. Then you're only talking to people of, you know, what's changed with the system administration, what's changed with any process that I've touched. But going from like an 8, 9 and 8, 10, jumping up into the 9s, you know, so you're going to expect more there. Then there's whatever's behind the scenes with changing the table structures. Is that going to impact any of my retrofitting? Is it referencing old tables that don't exist anymore, or they're being renamed? So that's straight away, that's what pops in my head with those sort of things. So yes, there will be bigger time involved. Okay, so no other questions. That's their details. Yeah, 2 places, you know, to get information: upgradejd.com, or jump on the Myriad IT website. Look at the case studies there. Look at the white papers. Request information. We've got some packs that we can send to people. So if you like any additional information, do that. Otherwise, I know it's nearly the end of the event. Come see us in the booth. Otherwise, drop us an email or give us a call. Cool. Thanks, everyone.